So summer of 2012, our closing or pipeline report, as we call it was slow and small and infrequent enough that honestly, I could just keep track of it all in my head. I was sitting there and I kind of went, I've got a lot going on. I realized that I had a six-figure pipeline. When I talked about our income going down, when you lose 80% of your income and then you realize that in the next 6 months that you're going to make a considerable amount of money, like that's a really, I guess you'd call it a watershed moment. Told my wife, I said, you'll never believe this. Like, this is crazy. Like, look at all this stuff that's starting to come together. Because, the market was coming back, but some of those files were also kind of working through a long, arduous process. So it was a combination of a lot of things.
So what were the lessons that you've experienced thus far in this experiment of operating a business in two different places, maybe the good, bad, and the ugly?
I mean, the good is that I am a solar powered person. So I joke with the Washington team that they know whether I'm coming or going based on the rain. We've really had a lot of fun mixing up our climate experience over the last 2 years. The bad and the ugly is things like prior to having an agent on our team on the Idaho side, things like I'd land in Washington and get a phone call. This is a real story. I got a phone call and the person said, hey, I just had breakfast in this restaurant and I ended up sitting next to some folks buy a home and we're in town for the next 4 days and we'd like to learn the area and we're going to make a move. And, I just arrived in the Washington office and in context of that conversation figured out that they were in Idaho. Leverage is key because I literally need to be able to be in two places at the same time. We don't control the other side. We don't control who answers the phone. We don't control who needs to move when or where, but we do control our effectiveness. And I think a foundational cornerstone to our effectiveness is our training. And our training really comes down to being the best we can be, knowing the language of sales, knowing where we need to use that leverage point of our administrative team, knowing how we're going to spend our time with folks and saying the right things, not having too long of phone calls before we go meet with them face to face. Just kind of these small keys that are like kind of like picking a complex lock where when it all lines up, everything unlocks.